Hey everybody, it's Mike, and welcome to today's presentation on the Orderflows Delta Scalper. Let me just get my screen up here. Just bear with me. Wait, show screen, make sure I got the right screen. Okay, so today what I'll be talking about is the Delta Scalper from Orderflows. And one of the reasons why I chose to do today's presentation on the Delta Scalper is because it's a great tool for analyzing what's happening in the order flow. And while some people have heard of the Delta Scalper from other vendors, I was the one that created it first. People have tried to reverse engineer. Everyone's always trying to reverse engineer what I've created. Um, you know, why not get it original here, what it's for, how to use it directly from the source. Now, before I begin, just a brief disclaimer, you understand that, trading involves risk, and, you shouldn't be trading with money you can't afford to lose. All right, so what I'll be talking about today. Now, just a few ground rules. Now I'll say ground rules, but, just bear in mind, this is the agenda that I have scheduled for today. I'm going to talk about what is order flow delta, how is order flow delta calculated, how to use order flow delta, talk about trading decisions that are based on order flow delta. Then I want to get into the actual order flows delta scalper, talk about the different settings. I'm going to talk about the settings for individual markets. And then at the end, there will be a question and answer. Now, if you have a question, just put it in the chat or the question box. Now, I'm not going to be monitoring it full time during the presentation. I'll go through the questions at the end. I just find that when I stop to take a look at a question, I just lose my train of thought. Then a 45-minute or 1 hour session turns out to be a 2 or 3 hour session. So I just find it a little bit easier to let you know that, if you have any questions, put it in the chat, put it in the question box, and at the end, after I go through the whole presentation, we'll talk about it, your questions. Now, today's presentation, again, is on the Delta Scalper, okay? So, I do want you to understand that, I know when I do presentations on certain indicators, things like that, people say, well, I had to sit through this whole thing to watch you present an indicator. Yeah, that's the whole point of this. There's a lot of users, a lot of traders that have the Delta Scalper. And, they said, Mike, you should do some extra training. This is what the training is. There's people that are sitting on the fence, do I really need to add this to my trading arsenal or not? Hopefully today your questions will be answered and you can see the indicator and, if it's something that you need for trading. Now, to see order flow delta, right, you need to use an order flow chart, basically. Right? You can't use a normal bar chart and expect to see market generated information from the order flow on a normal bar chart because it's not going to appear there, right? But at the end, when I talk about the Delta Scalper, I'm going to show you how we've taken the information from an order flow chart, the Delta specifically, and we've put it into a format that can be analyzed and read on a normal bar chart. So what is order flow delta? Now, every bar has a delta, okay? And if you're familiar with an order flow chart, right, well, the footprint chart, and you see a lot of numbers, right? You see numbers on the bid side, you see numbers on the offer side. Basically, all you do is you subtract the number that's traded on the bid from the number traded on the offer, and that's going to be your delta. So when I say every bar has a delta, right, because what you do is you take, for example, this little bar here, okay, you see 454, 126, 6, you add all that up, the total you get, you subtract it from the 11, 79, 41, and 0. What you're left with is minus 59. So what that's telling you is there was 59 more contracts traded on the bid than traded on the offer. And people say, well, if there's more trading on the bid than on the offer, why is it negative? It's because what delta measures is the aggressive trading. What you have is 59 more aggressive sellers, right? The 59 is right here. 59 more aggressive sellers than aggressive buyers. Okay, that doesn't mean that there wasn't a lot on the offer up here. What it's telling you, what the delta tells you is there was more aggressive sellers in this bar than aggressive buyers. Okay, then, for example, this green bar right here in the middle, right? It's got a delta of positive 16. So you add up everything that's traded on the bid side, everything that's traded on the offer side. There were 16 more contracts traded on the offer side than the bid side. Okay, what's that telling you is there was more aggressive buying going on in this bar than aggressive selling. Now, that doesn't mean there was no aggressive selling. There was. It just wasn't enough to turn the delta negative, right? The aggressive buyers were just slightly more in control than the aggressive sellers. So basically, like I said, every bar has a delta, okay? And delta is a market generated piece of information, right? Delta can be positive, negative, or it can be zero, right? You see here positive deltas, you see negative deltas. Now, there's another subset of delta. There's max delta and min delta, as well as cumulative delta. Cumulative delta is the running delta total for the day. It's like, think of it like volume, right? The day's volume. So up to this point here where you have this green, this green candle right here at 746, its cumulative delta is positive 1349. So at this point in time, since the market reopened at 6 p.m. or sorry, 5 p.m., it's built up a positive delta of 1349. Now, the cumulative delta will rise, it will fall during the trading day. It could be positive, it can be negative. Max delta is how strong the positive delta was in a bar. Okay, so again, in this green candle right here, you can see max delta of 230. Tells you in this bar, delta was positive at a number of 230, right? Period. It's not taking anything to account with the aggressive selling. It's just telling you in this bar, the strongest aggressive buying was 230 contracts positive, and min delta is the opposite. Okay, so you see -6 in the same bar. So it's telling you the most negative selling was in this bar was -6, so 6 contracts. Okay, so it's telling you over the course of the bar, most of the trading that was happening was on the offer side, meaning aggressive buyers trading in the market. Now people ask, well, what's the difference? What's an aggressive buyer? Well, there's different types of buyers and sellers in the market. You have aggressive buyers, aggressive sellers. You have passive buyers, passive sellers. When somebody lifts the offer, buys at the market, that's an aggressive buyer. If someone sells at the market or sells into the bid, that's an aggressive seller. Okay. Now, aggressive sellers sell to passive buyers. They're people that are working a bid, right? They're waiting for the market to come to them. Aggressive traders don't wait for the market to come to them. They go to the market. Now, a passive seller would be somebody that sits on the offer waiting for someone to come up and buy it, right? Think of it like, eBay, right? We're all familiar with eBay. And, you have things that are auctions, okay? And then you have things that are just basically selling in a store at a fixed price. If something is selling at a fixed price, that seller is a passive seller. They're happy to sell, wait for the buyer to come up and pay their price. Say they have a, a special pen or something, and they think it's a collectible pen. They want to sell it for $500, so they just put it in their store at $500, and they wait for the aggressive buyer to come up and pay that price. That collector that really wants that pen is going to be aggressive and pay that price. Now, if you have an auction, right, what you're having is you have more aggressive buying going on. That's a case of aggressive buying. You don't see aggressive selling going on in an auction, and you have people competing with each other, trying to lift the offer, pay the best price possible in the market in order to secure what they're trying to buy. Now again, every bar has a delta, but not every delta is going to matter, and sometimes delta by itself has no importance, right? When you see, oh, I got this bar here, it's got a delta of, this bar over here, it's got a delta of 7. Well, okay, what does that mean? 7 by itself means nothing. You got to put it in context with what's happening in the market. And once you start understanding, what the delta means, how to put it together, string it together with other bars, deltas, and market structure, the market is going to make a lot more sense to you, because, like I said, if delta shows who's in control of the market, then you're going to have a good idea of who's in control of the market, right? Because imagine, right? You have a tool that says, well, I know aggressive sellers are active and dominating this market because I see a lot of negative deltas. Then it's easy. But then once you start seeing changes in the delta, and I'm going to get to this a little bit later, it's going to tell you when market is getting weaker or when a market is getting stronger, when there's signs of absorption, and many more ways of analyzing the market. So again, just to recap, delta could be positive, it could be negative, it could be zero. Sometimes, it's just coincidence it lands on zero. I, I haven't found any statistical um, edge when a delta lands on zero than when it lands on a positive or negative number, right? It's just more of a coincidence. Now remember, right? Most people use a bar chart, sorry, a time-based chart, like a 1-minute chart, and after 1 minute, the bar closes and you start a new bar. And wherever the delta is at that moment the bar closes is what prints. So, sometimes if you had an extra 1 second, the delta could have been +5 or +20, or -6 or something like that. When it lands on zero, it's more of coincidence than anything else. Now, like I said, every bar has a delta. Not every delta you see matters. And especially sometimes there's deltas that are kind of neutral in the market, right? So for example, right, if you're looking at a market like E-mini S&Ps that trade, thousands of contracts in a minute, and you have a delta that's like 20, there's nobody really in control. In many cases, when I see a very small delta like that, depending on where the bar is coming in market structure, I would treat it as sort of neutral, right? Because nobody's really in control right now. And you see that sometimes on a market that's going sideways, you see small deltas. Okay, so again, how is order flow delta calculated? Well, it's calculated by taking the volume traded on the bid and subtracting it from the volume that's traded on the offer. Now, most footprint charts, you can actually have the volumes that are traded on the offer and volumes traded on the bid if you want to have them on your screen. So for example, right here in the middle, this middle bar, you see delta is 16, right? The third number. Well, why? How is it 16? It's because when you add everything up traded on the offer, it's 91 contract, right? The volume traded on the ask, the volume traded on the bid is 75. So that's how you end up with 16. Just like this red bar, volume traded on the ask is 189, volume traded on the bid is 295. So it's minus 106 is the delta. Okay, so there's no fancy mathematical equation, advanced calculus, and that you got to understand. It's simple arithmetic, right? Traders like to overcomplicate things sometimes. You don't need to make it complicated, right? All you got to do is you look at the numbers, right? Imagine if you run just a regular brick and mortar store, okay, and you're trying to keep track of sales, right? Simple accounting. Well, how many coats did I sell this week? Okay. How many, yeah, at what price, right? So you're going to add it up, okay, I sold 20 coats, on Monday, 15 coats on Tuesday. You don't necessarily need to delve into, all of these weird mathematical formulas. And, that's what traders do, right? If you open up, Ninja Trader, I'm going to get into some charts later, but if you open up the indicators under NinjaTrader, you got a whole slew of different indicators that you can use, right? You can see in here, right? You see ADX, Bollinger Bands, which I don't mind, pivots, candlestick patterns, oscillators, volatility, choppiness index. A lot of these things I have no idea what CMO is. Maybe somebody can inform me. DMI, I know what that is. Donchian channels, double stochastics. A lot of people, they don't understand really what goes into these tools that they're just throwing up on their chart. But with something like Delta, right, it's derived directly from the order flow. It's derived from what actually traded in the market. It's not coming in from, some massaging of price, right? Taking price and sort of running it through a mathematical equation and, coming up with an answer like that. what you're seeing in Delta is actually based on what traded in the market right now, right? I always say, order flow gets you as close to the market as possible. Well, the reason, what that really means is, you're basing your trading decisions on what's happened right now, right? You're not taking an average from, the last 50 bars and running it through the computer and coming out with a one number, and then you're basing your decision off that, right? No, you're basing it off of what is actually trading right now. So how do you use order flow delta? Well, like I said, you're going to use it in several ways, right? Now, these are not all the ways, but these are the most common ways. It's going to help you determine who is in control of the market, right? Like I said, generally markets go up on positive delta, markets go down on negative delta. Now, there's going to be instances where a market is going up and you have negative delta, and you're going to scratch your head and say, well, Mike said that, delta shows who's in control of the market. Why is the market going up, but there's more aggressive selling? Well, the reason for that is a simple one. Is absorption in the market. Okay, that's the second part. Determine if there's absorption in the market, right? Imagine a market is going higher, but there's still aggressive selling. That means there's a big buyer in the market, right? Everyone is selling the heck out of the market, but this guy says, sure, I'll buy everything you have. I'll, sell me some more, right? And then the market still ticks higher, ticks higher, ticks higher. Delta is going to help you to determine if a move is showing strength, right? And why that's important is because, everyone always says, follow the trend. The trend is your friend. That's such, a beautiful statement. But okay, what you want to do is you want to be identified to the trend as soon as it happens, right? You don't want to be getting on a trend, you know, 3/4 of the way through. If there's signs in the market that, aggressive buyers are coming in, stepping up to the plate, they're starting to, accumulate a position, but the market's not moving much. Oftentimes that shows up in the delta. Actually, I have an indicator for free on my website. If you go to orderflows.com, it's called the Delta Surge. That you can download it for free. You just got to enter your email, but that shows you where delta is, slowly building. Right, it's a sign of accumulation, and right before a market starts to take off, oftentimes. But delta could also use for the opposite, right? Determine if a move is weakening. Imagine the market is running higher and you haven't bought yet. It's a bit like Bitcoin, right? Every day you open up, coin market cap, Bitcoin is up, Shibcoin is up, right? Everything is up, and you want to be buying it, but you don't want to be buying the top. But delta is going to help you understand that, even though this market is going higher, the aggressive buying that was stronger earlier is no longer as strong as it was, right? And why that's important is because imagine, right? Everybody is buying, 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 but then everybody is bought. Well, then who's left to buy? Nobody. The guy that bought it at the top is holding the bag, basically. And then what's going to happen? If there's no more buyers, the market's just going to naturally pull back. Okay. So, that's how delta is going to help you in the market. Now there's others more advanced ways, but I just want to give you a sort of simple overview of different ways delta can help you in the market. And by understanding that, delta trading decisions you can make based on the order flow delta. So who's in control of the market? Simple. Basically, market's going up, you're seeing positive delta. Market's going down, generally you're seeing negative deltas, right? The big negative delta here, negative, negative, positive, 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 as the market is moving higher, right? Now, again, not always is it going to be a red bar with negative delta or a green bar with positive delta, right? Here's a green bar with positive delta. Here's a red bar with negative delta. I thought there was one here. Here's a red bar with negative delta. And Mike, you just said, delta is going to tell me who's in control of the market. Remember what I said about absorption, right? The market bounced up here, right? But you have offers up here, right? You got somebody offering it out there. Basically, you have people buying it, thinking it's going to go higher. They're there absorbing all that aggressive buying, right? But then that buying gets shut off for whatever reason, then the market dropped. But they bought so much up here that you're left with that positive delta, right? This is actually a bearish sign in the market, okay? So, hopefully that helps you understand, who's in control of the market, okay? I could go more in depth on that, but that would be, that's just on this whole concept alone, understanding who's in control of the market, that's sort of a training by itself. Recognizing absorption in the market, well, how can you do that? Well, you can use delta, okay? So for example, this is a 5-minute crude oil chart, 5 minutes, okay? 20, you can see the volumes down here per bar. It's somewhere between 2,500 and 5,000 contracts. So it's decent volume, right? And decent deltas, 600, 289, 265, 212, -1. So it's a smallish delta, right? Again, it's not zero, it's just -1. Again, oftentimes, like I said, if it was just sort of during the course of a market moving sideways and I see a small delta like this 143, I wouldn't put much into it. But then, okay, I get up here to a swing high. I got a small delta. I traded decent volume, 2,800 contracts. It's about the lower end of the average here. Again, I don't need to calculate this one traded 3,376, 5,273, 5,292. Oh, this one's light volume. No, I don't need to do that, right? I could just look at it, say it's within the parameters, right? It's not 1,000, it's 2,825. So it's decent volume. And okay, well, why is delta so little? It's only 1, right? Again, I would be thinking the same thing if it was +5 or +8, or -10. Okay, well, the reason is I can see in the order flow, right? I can look at the volume that's traded on the offer side and say, oh, you know what, that's decent, right? Because normally, right, if a market is going to sell off quite dramatically, oftentimes, like a quick reversal, you're not going to see that absorption, right? You're just going to see a big red candle with strong negative delta because it sort of hit that high and then attracted these big sellers coming into the market, just hit every bid, right? And the market just dropped and you end up with a bar with a strong negative delta, -500. But up here in this bar, right, I can see, wow, we got 120 up here. So I know that up here, there's somebody just sort of happy to sell, right? That they're not necessarily showing their hand yet up here at this 82, 60 area. They're just happy to sit back and, oh, people want to trade it up here, fine. I'll be happy to sell it to them. Then, as the market starts to drop, they start to get a little bit more aggressive. They're still trailing their offers down. You can see some nice volume coming in down here as well. But they are sort of hiding their intentions in the market by keeping the delta small directionally. Okay. Now, again, I said earlier, right, a small delta, oftentimes I treat it as neutral, but you got to take it in context with what's happening in the market. If, like I said, this 43 that's over here, this other bar that's got a 34, yeah, okay, yeah, I don't really read too much into it. But when you start getting up at swing highs or swing lows, that's when you should be paying attention because that's where markets are going to start to turn, after a swing high or after a swing low. Now, determining if a market is starting to show strength, right? You use delta. So this is a market, it's crude oil. Market is just going sideways, from 1040, to 1055, 15 minutes doing nothing, right? It looks like it's starting to sell off here. You got some negative deltas. Now, this is about understanding what's happening in the market. Okay, you see this bar here, -91, -18, -40, all these deltas negative, -74, -18, -44, -80, -158, -82, -33. Got a lot of selling going on. It's overall negative delta, right? You got one bar here with positive delta of 18. Got one bar here with positive delta of 61. Okay, fine. But overall, majority, for every one bar that's positive delta, you got 3 or 4 bars that's negative delta. And then all of a sudden, you see the market start to come to life, 61, 135, 248, right? So we're starting to break out of this sideways action and the aggressive buying is getting stronger, right? Here you had aggressive selling getting stronger, minus 44, minus 80, minus 158. Okay, great. Maybe this market could finally start to sell off, but it doesn't, right? There's a saying in the market, often what doesn't happen is just as important as what happens. So you have a very strong sign of, you know what, I got aggressive sellers getting stronger in here. Maybe I should look for the market to sell off. Okay, what happens in the next bar? Nothing. It comes right back up, positive delta. Okay, wait for the next bar. Got a nice negative delta, minus 82. Okay, maybe we're back on track now. Maybe this market could finally start to sell off. But then the next bar, minus 33, it's a doji candle, opens and closes at the same price, only goes one tick lower. All of a sudden now the aggressive buying takes over. 61, 135, 248, right? This market is starting to show signs of strength, right? This is, in essence, a delta surge here, right? You had a delta surge here, but there was no follow through, right? Then here you start to see the follow through come in, not in the next bar. Next bar just does nothing. It's got a nice negative delta of 76, but it can't get below the point of control of the previous bar. Doesn't go any higher. So it's kind of, it's a doji candle, and doji candles in the order flow, even though there's volume that trades, oftentimes don't lean one way or the other, right? I don't want to say I ignore them, but I just sort of say, I need some direction. Price isn't giving me any direction, even though delta is negative. If that market was really going to start to sell off, I got a nice negative 76 delta, the market should start to sell off. Instead, it does the opposite. So I got aggressive buying stepping up here. Nothing happens in this next bar, but then the next bar, it pops up, right? How I like to trade these type of setups is I see the aggressive buying coming in. All I know is, okay, this is high, this bar is 88. If it trades 90, I just drop a buy stop in here. Boom, get filled, 91, 92, market starts to go up. Now, traders are putting in the effort here and they're starting to get rewarded. Traders put in an effort here to sell, but they weren't getting rewarded. So everyone that was selling in here is looking for this market to go lower. They're starting to cover here, right? They're starting to cover here. And then as they're covering, more and more traders are realizing this market isn't going lower and they're looking to start to get long. This is the result, right? First, this chart here was the effort, right? Right here, you see the 61, 135, 248. This is the second half of the chart, right? Here's the 248. This is that doji candle. Like I said, you should be getting long somewhere here around 92, 91, 92, 93. Just basically went sideways on you before it finally popped up all the way up into the 20s. Okay, this was this morning in crude oil. So again, that's how delta can help you be positioned for a directional move. Okay, now determining if a market is weakening, okay, use the delta. All right, because after all, what is delta? Well, delta is the difference between aggressive buying and aggressive selling. So if delta isn't getting stronger, then what does that tell you about the move, right? If a market is going up, but delta is declining, then it's not going to do much. It's not going to go further, right? Because what you have now on delta, that's, even though it's positive, but it's a weaker positive, you have the number of buyers is less. So as a result, the market still may go up a bit, but it's not going to keep, everyone says the market don't go up forever. Well, it's not, right? It's starting to slow down. It's starting to stall, just as if a market is selling off, right? You see strong, everyone's capitulation, it's just get me out. You see the delta's all big, negative, negative, negative as the market is selling off. Then as you notice, the markets will start to form a bottom, go sideways and go back up. But if you watch the delta, you're instead of coming in and saying, oh my gosh, everyone is selling, I gotta sell too, right? But if you're watching the delta, you're thinking, well, yeah, everyone is selling, but the selling is getting weaker, right? Maybe I should, hold off on my selling and wait for a bounce and try to, get something out of it, or possibly, bottom fish. Again, it's not about trying to pick a high or a low, a top or bottom. It's about understanding what's happening in the market. So for example, crude oil, right? This is this morning, 8:30, right? We went up from, basically 82.10 all the way up to 82.60, a nice 50-cent move. This is on in 5 minutes, right? And there's that expression FOMO, right? Fear of missing out. What you get is you get a lot of traders coming in. Oh, we're starting to rally. I better buy some. I gotta get in. I get in. And then what happens? It stalls out, and then it reverses. If you watch the delta, it's 333, it's 364, it's 166, it's 34. Okay, so what's going on? Well, you got some strong buying here, stronger here, then weaker. Then at the high, it's your weakest positive delta, right? If this market's going to go higher, you shouldn't be looking at your weakest delta number here, 34, right? And even the previous bar, even though you're making these, excuse me, making these new highs here, delta's weaker than the previous bar, 364. So what's that telling you? It's going from 364 to 166 to 34 before it eventually turned here at negative 73, right? So it went up, 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 positive, less positive, less positive, negative, right? Sort of the opposite of a delta surge, if you will. And what happens? The market drops from 50, back down to 20. So, these are just examples of the different ways that you can use delta in your analysis. All right, so now I want to get into the Delta Scalper. Okay, now the Delta Scalper runs on NinjaTrader 8, but it takes the hard work of analysis of order flow out of the order flow chart for you, right? And it puts it on a normal bar chart. Now, if you still like to use a footprint chart, you can, but you don't have to. I realize a lot of people trade off bar charts. They want to keep it clean, or they have their existing indicators on there. That's fine, right? You don't have to take everything you are currently using in the market and just chuck it out the window. No, what I'm saying is you just add Delta Scalper to your existing chart. And again, it runs on NinjaTrader 8. So again, you don't have to use an order flow footprint chart. If you have a chart that you're comfortable with, that you've been trading with for a long time, you could keep it, right? You just add Delta Scalper to it. Now it's called Delta Scalper for a reason, right? It's not called the Delta Scalper hodler, right? You're not reading something in the order flow right now and holding it for a week, right? It's designed for intraday traders, short-term traders. I hate to use the term, every trade starts with a scalp, but every trade, you don't know if it's going to be going in your direction right away or not, right? How many times have I know this happens to me. You get into a position and it immediately goes against you, right? Because we don't know what's going to happen on the next trade or the third trade or the fourth trade. You don't know as soon as you hit buy, there's some big guy at Goldman Sachs that's got an order to sell 5,000 E-minis, right? You just bought one or two, but all of a sudden he's got to come in and sell, 5,000, right? So it's about understanding, what's happening in the market. But Delta Scalper is really designed for short-term traders. And it's really designed for the futures market. You could use it with stocks. Forex, I don't follow. Crypto, we're going to be releasing a version of Orderflows Trader, the footprint chart for crypto. And, to be honest, most people that I know that trade crypto, I don't want to use the term crypto, they're just hodlers, right? They just buy it, forget about it for a while. They look at charts, but I haven't yet really sat down with somebody that's trading intraday crypto. I tried. I do. I was testing out the new Orderflows Trader software for that runs on crypto, and it's different because you got it's trading in satoshis and all that. And if you're trading, unless you're using margin, if you're trading with full, the full value, you need to put a lot of money into it basically to see some decent returns because if you're buying $50 worth of Bitcoin and you take it up a little bit, you get out, what's your profit is like a couple dollars or something like that. You're better off trading futures. But anyway, we are working on that. So again, Delta Scalper is really designed for short-term intraday futures traders and to a lesser extent stock traders. Now, I'm going to talk about the Delta Scalper a bit here. Okay, so let me just get my NinjaTrader up here. Okay, so again, this is a footprint chart. Okay, so everything you're seeing in here in the footprint, okay, with the deltas, right, with what's traded on the bid, what's traded on the offer, what we've done. Okay, now there is a calculation that goes into the delta scalper, right, because we're measuring delta. Okay, so we're putting it in context of the market. Is this delta important or not? And again, like I said, not every bar's delta is going to be important. Sometimes it will be, sometimes it won't be. It has to be taken in context of what's happening in the market. Okay, so what we've done is we've taken this information that you're seeing here, right? The bid volume, the ask volume, the delta, put it in context of the market over, recent market activity. And we were able to come up with putting it on a chart to give you buy signals, give you sell signals. This is a gold chart, all right? This is a wheat chart, all right? This is a crude oil chart, okay? This is, well, that's something else. That's E-minis, but what else I got here? I got a mini Dow chart, right? You see there's nice moves down, some nice little moves down, some nice move up. Again, not every trade is going to be, a big, like here, every trade's not going to be, from 650 down to, 550. We wish they were. Sometimes the moves are going to be smaller, like you see here, right? From basically from, 85, up to, 700, right? Or this move here from 60, down to basically, this is what, 40 here. Sometimes you can only get 20 points out of a move. Sometimes you can only get 15 points. And other times it's going to give you an opportunity to get more. This is a move from, 15 all the way up to 100, 715. And, and depending on the type of chart, sometimes you're going to catch these beautiful moves like this one in the crude, from 56, 54, down into the 20s, right? This is a tick-based chart. These are minute-based charts. Now, when we created the Delta Scalper, really what we're looking for is rises or declines in the delta, okay? But not just every rise or every decline. It's got to happen in context of the market, right? And it's got to happen in context with how the market was just trading, okay? Because, just saying, oh, here I've got, I've got delta, it jumped from 52 to 300, no, negative 52 to positive 300, that's a buy. Well, no, okay? It's not going to say that, oh, it's, it's jumping, up and down, because it's not going to be consistent, because there's going to be a lot of times where you have bars with small delta than bars with a big delta, okay? Because remember, it's based on what's trading in the market. And sometimes the market is quiet, right? And it's just not going to trade a lot of volume. Okay, so that's why you have to take it in context of what's happening in the market. This is, like sometimes it goes from big positive to a big negative. Well, what does that mean, right? It means something, and unless you understand how to read the delta, you're going to miss, opportunities like this where the delta changes all of a sudden, right? Because you're just not familiar with it, right? If you want to take the time to learn it, you can, right? Because all this stuff is learnable. But why not just have an indicator that's going to give you a sign, say, hey, you know what? Delta is bullish here. Delta is bullish here. Delta is bullish here. Delta was negative here. Okay. There are going to be trades that get stopped out, like this one right here, or this one here. Okay, imagine you get stopped out here, maybe get stopped out here, then you get long here, 77.20. Trades all the way up, to 84 before you get, a bearish sign in the market. And this is this morning in gold. I mean, look at this, all on this move down. You can see, people say, well, you had to buy here and it didn't work out. Okay, well, it came right back with a nice sell here, another short here, another short here, nice, beautiful short right here, before the market just crapped out. But why try to sit there, spend the time analyzing the footprint when you can have software that's going to do it for you? So I'll just take you through the settings real quick, because I just want you to see how easy and simple this is, how we've made it for you so that you could just start seeing results, well, Monday, basically, when the market reopens. This is the settings, right? Very simple, very easy layout. The license token, right? That's where you enter your token. You know, when if you purchase the software, you enter it right here, right? And some people, even though I sit there and I create videos and I take screenshots and put it in the user guide saying, hey, put it in there, they they don't want to follow. It doesn't go under here under license key or third-party licensing, etc. It goes in here in the actual indicator setting, right? So once you open up the indicator, once you add it to NinjaTrader as you would any other indicator, it takes about 15 seconds. You open it up, you find it in here under available indicators, Delta Scalper, make sure it shows up here. You drop your license token in there. Simple. Okay. And again, if you don't get your license token, you don't see it in your email, check your spam folder as well. Sometimes, people's things get sent to spam sometimes. Sometimes I send emails to myself to remind me of things. My wife says, oh, you got to buy tickets to the show for the kids. And then, okay, so, I'll send myself an email to, because I'll be out or something and on my phone, and I'll go, where's my email? And I check my spam and it ended up in there for some reason. Now the trade entry signal. Okay, this is one of the new features, right? I said Delta Scalper has been around for a while, but this is one of the new additions that we've put in. The Delta Scalper is the trade entry signal. And what this does is you can have a choice to enable it or disable it. When enabled, the Delta Scalper is only going to signal trades after the market conditions are met and the market moves in the direction of the signal by at least 2 ticks over the next 2 bars. That's what price level in ticks is 2. Trade validity in bars is 2. Now again, you could say, well, it's only got to move 1 tick in the direction of the signal. Okay, fine, you change that to 1. You say, I want to give it a few more bars than 2, right? I'll give it 5. The max you can put in is 5. So as long as it moves 1 tick in the direction over the next 5 bars, okay. Now some people say, no, I want it to move immediately. I know some traders that say, you know what, Mike, with order flow, it has to move immediately. So what they do is they change it to say 1 tick and 1 bar. So it has to move immediately in the next bar, right? Because they found they're based on their settings and the way they use the tool, is the best trades for them are the ones that happen right now. So for example, I'll just show you the difference here. Let me get my chart up. Okay, so I'm just going to show you guys on a bar chart, right? Just because it's a bit easier. So you'll notice here, right? There's a triangle. That's the signal, the signal, the signal, the signal. Now you'll notice there's some boxes here. This is just telling you, which I'll get to the setting in a moment. Conditions are met, but it didn't move the required amount of ticks over the immediate bars. So what that means is this one is set to 2 and 2. So you have a signal here because this was the signal bar, and then it moved 2 ticks over the next 2 bars. That's where this signal printed, right? It didn't print on the signal bar, it printed on the actual bar. Now, if you have this enabled, as soon as it prints, it will not repaint, okay? And that's important because, for example, if you're not using the trade entry signal, as soon as the conditions are met in the bar, it will give you the down triangle. And if the bar is not closed yet, meaning if it's a 1-minute bar and you're 40 seconds into the bar and you've got a signal, but then the last 5 seconds everything changes in the bar, and what was very bearish earlier dissipates, it goes away, the signal will go away. And then once the bar closes, if there's a signal there, it will stay there. If there's not, it won't appear, but it can change as the bar is forming. Okay, but that's if you're not using the trade entry signal. If you're using the trade entry signal, it's only going to appear when those conditions are met. Now, for example, here, right, trade entry signal is on. So if I disable it, okay, notice there's no trade entry here, right? There's no buy signal here, right? There's no sell and no buy at this top here and this blue here. But if I disable it, okay, so there was that blue box here, but there was no blue triangle here. There was a red box up here, but there was no red triangle. So when you disable it, it's just going to give you the signal as long as the conditions are met, right? So you can see the sell here, the buy here, the buy here, and buy here. Now, people say, well, Mike, do I really need to use it? Well, again, you don't have to. I like to use it because I want the order flow to confirm the signal, right? There needs to be follow through order flow. So imagine if you're using it versus you're not using it. If you've ever gone over your trade results, right? Keep track of your trades, look at your winners and losers. Imagine you could cut out this losing trade right here, right? You could cut out this trade. Now, maybe this trade would have stopped you out as it came back up here. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe this one would have stopped you out, right? This one over here would have stopped you out. Imagine you could take out this losing trade, this losing trade. How much difference your trading results are going to be. So say you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 potential trades, of which this was a loser, this was a loser, this was a loser. You could take away those 3 right off the bat. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 trades instead, okay, because you took out this other one. You still have the big winner. This one, well, you should have already been short. I'm not going to say you should have gotten short here because it's already happened in this downtrend. You should have been short here. Then you got one loser. I'll call this one a loser for what it's worth. I'll call this one a winner because it did go down, didn't stop you out here. It came back down before it sort of worked its way back up. Maybe you could have scratched this. Maybe you could have made, a few ticks. But you took out this losing trade here. You took out this losing trade and potentially this losing trade, right? Imagine how your results are going to change if you could start removing some of these losing trades. So that's how the trade entry signal is going to help you, okay? Now, into the actual settings, okay? The lookback bars, it determines how many bars back to go in the analysis. Now, you don't need to go over 10. A value of 0 would disable the lookback bars setting, okay? Before, we didn't have it where you could enter 0. We had another thing down here, signal only on higher, higher, lower, low, which I'll get to later. But if you were to disable this, it basically disables the lookback bars and makes it a 0. Now I suggest settings of 1, 3, 5, or 7. Again, you could use whatever. There's no point in going over 10. That's just too far back. And sometimes I use 0, right? Some markets I like to use 0 because I just want to see every signal that comes up. Okay, so again, it depends on your trading style, how you approach the markets. Now, the main settings is this, the delta scalper strength, negative delta strength, positive delta strength. Okay, this is the most important setting. The minimum strength level is 1. You can't put 0 in because strength is 0, well, then you wouldn't use the indicator, right? So it's got to be at least 1. Now, a level of 2 is double the strength of level 1. A level of 3 is actually 4 times the strength. So the higher the numbers you go, you're doubling it and doubling it and doubling it. Now you can go above 3, but honestly you won't get many signals. Once you get above 3, it's really just too strong and you won't get enough signals to make it effective. You will see some, but sometimes when you people say, oh, I'm gonna put 10 in there because I only want the strongest signals. Well, you don't have to, because sometimes you're going to get these bursts and deltas if a customer, meaning a hedge fund or somebody say, oh, I gotta get out of my position, and they just chuck an order into the market, tell the executing trader at the bank or wherever, just get me out. They don't care about the price, and then you just see this burst order go through the market, and that's it. It's not really indicative of the market. And if you go above 10, sometimes you're going to get caught in those types of orders. Now, signal box height is how, where's my Ninja Trader here, is basically how tall to draw this box, right? It's in ticks. Okay, so 2, you don't need to adjust that. You can just keep it at 2. The opacity is how dark or light you want to draw that zone, right? That box. 25 is good. You don't want to make it, 100, so dark that you can't see anything on your chart. Especially if you got other tools, it might cover up something that matters to you. So, 25 is good. Now, the zone you could disable, right? Say you don't want to use the zones, right? I like to use the zones because it basically tells me, right, that if it, like for example here, right, the sell, okay, I know I'm short, I should be getting short in here, but if it starts trading back above this zone, that's telling me the order flow has changed, right? You don't want to be in that position anymore. You should think of getting out. For example, just like here, right? As soon as I go, you're getting long, you go and market's going up, it starts trading back into that zone. Definitely be looking for the exit door, right? Because once it gets beyond that zone, then all bets are off, right? I said the best trades are the ones that happen right away. So you can disable that, right? If you don't want to use those zones, like this is the week chart with it disabled, right? You don't see the zones, you just see the buy or sell signals. Let me drink some water here, guys. If you want to have a clean chart, if you want to throw it into something like markers, right, which will automate these signals for you, you can, you don't need to have the zones drawn in there, right? You could have them not shown on your chart. Now, the next one is the signal mark displacement. It's just basically how far above the bar for a sell or how far below the bar for a buy to plot the signal, right? It will, 2 is fine. You don't need to put it so far away. It's just, you don't need to change that at all. Now, the last one, like I said, is this one signal only on higher, 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 low. This is related to this setting up here, lookback bars, okay? If you uncheck this box, basically you're disabling the entire lookback bars to begin with. I said in previous version, we couldn't set it to 0. I asked my programmer to make that change. He left this in because some people were so used to it, but you could actually set the lookback bars to 0, which would disable it. But it's just best to keep it enabled. Now, the next set of settings here, data series setup, visuals, you don't need to change this. Don't even touch any of it. This is just the input series. Like in this example, this is crude I'm looking at. It's calculated on each tick. The label that you're going to see on the top of the chart is the Orderflows Delta Scalper. Maximum lookback bars is 256, which is standard. The visual auto scale, this is how your chart is going to look. Same as input series. You don't need to put it below the chart or anything. Scale justification is based off the right, and make sure it's visible. Okay, so you don't need to touch any data series setup or visuals. Just leave those. Now the plots, positive delta change, which is buys, negative delta change, which is sells, is set to blue, triangle up, and it's 8 pixels. So again, you don't need to change those unless you have some other indicator that's using the exact same ones, right? But you can change it to, say you don't like the color, say, you know what, Mike, I've got something else that's using red. I need a different color. Okay, well, you just go in here, open it up, change to whatever color you want to use, yellow or something. I mean, depends on what you want to use it, what other color you want to use. You just change it so you can see. It's hard to see right now, but there's a yellow. Personally, I find red or dark red is fine. Same thing with buys, right? Say you got some other indicator that gives blue buy signals. Well, you can change it from blue to, green or aqua or any other color. Yeah, you could also change, say you don't want to use triangle up, you want to use something else, a line or a hash or a dot or a cross, you can do that. But, I just find it easier to keep a triangle up, triangle down. You can change the size. Say, 8 is too big for you. You want a smaller size. You can adjust that. Um, you know, 8 I find is nice. Some people like to use 12. Some people like to use 4. Really depends on you and what you want to use. So like I said, we've purposely kept the settings simple because, we don't want people really going in there and changing a lot of different settings and not understanding what they're changing. You look at a lot of other indicators on the market, the free ones that come with NinjaTrader, there's things you can change, but people don't understand what they're changing in all honesty. So Delta Scalper was created to make delta analysis easier. Okay, that's why we don't have too many moving parts, right? It all moves on the back end, not the front end. So you don't have to deviate much in the settings, right? All you really need to focus on is strength, negative delta strength or positive delta strength, and the look back. Now, I'll give you a few settings here, okay? I'm just gonna talk about it. This is this area up here. Lookback bars, 0, negative delta strength 1, positive delta strength 1. Generally, you're gonna keep, I should highly suggest, I won't say generally, the negative delta strength and the positive delta strength the same, right? You're probably going to want to keep it 1 and 1 or 2 and 2. You're not going to go 1 and 3 or 3 and 1. I mean, you can. Then you'd sort of be leaning, saying, well, I think I want to see more aggressive buying than aggressive selling, but it's just keep them equal. I mean, in the sense of if you're using 1 for negative delta strength, then you're going to want to use 1 for positive delta strength, like that. Okay. Now look back is 0. So let's just take a look at how it looks on a chart. Okay, so when you set the look back to 0, basically you're telling the chart to give you every signal that appears. So, well, what is this? Wheat. I don't want to use wheat because I know not everybody trades wheat. Not everybody's a wheat trader. So go back to our crude oil chart. So this one I know is set to a look back period of 7. Okay, so it's going over the last 7 bars and analyzing that deltas and market structure. If I change it to 0, if I disable the look back, okay, I should see more buy signals, more sell signals. Now I do have the trade entry signal enabled here. Okay, so you can see here it's calculating. Now I know 0, 1, 1. And then these others, the 2, 25, 2, is these other settings here, the height, the width, the opacity, etc. So you can see now, right, there's more blue boxes, more red boxes, right? Not necessarily more signals, right? If you go back here, right now I'm seeing basically every signal that's met and the trade entry signal conditions are met, right? So I'm seeing more buys, more sells, okay? But I'm still seeing the boxes. Again, I could remove these boxes, but again, I like to use it as my guide to tell me, you know what, this trade is, if it starts trading into those boxes and the other side, the trade is breaking down. Okay, so that's 0, 1, 1. Okay, so basically no look back and strength of 1, positive and negative. Now the next one that I suggest people try is 1, 1, and 1. One look back strength is 1 and 1. Okay, and on a chart now it's going back over the previous bar. Okay, the initial bar as well as the previous bar, and it's basically comparing deltas and order flow. Okay, so let's take a look here. Let's make this. Let's see if I'll keep this up here. So you can see, right? I'm going to change this to 1. Right? So you're seeing there's buys, 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 these sells, some buys, etc. If I hit apply, okay, it's going to change it, right? There's going to be less signals because now I'm taking into account when you use 0, it's not taking into account the previous bar. When you use 1, it is starting to take into account the previous order flow. So now you're seeing a few less signals here, right? Before there was a few buys on the way up. Now you're just seeing the 1 here, 1 here, as far as using the trade entry signal. Okay. Now another one, 5, 1, and 1. So a little bit more stricter on the look back. When I say stricter, it means it's taking into account more order flow. Okay. And why would you want to do that? Depending on the market, you're going to want to see, some market movement before you take a trade. Well, that's not the right way to put it. When you're using the look back at 5, you're taking into account more order flow into the signal. Okay. So it's set to 5. Now, earlier I had to start up, it was at 7, right? So 5, you're going to see a little bit less signals than when I had 1, right? So you see here, there's just the buy signal here, the sell signal here, right? And then obviously this one is still the same, that's there. Again, if I have it set at 1, you're going to see, a buy signal up here. I think there was a sell signal over on this left-hand side. Just give it a second. Yeah, so, right, you see this sell signal here. There was a buy signal up here, all right? But if you have it set to 5, right, so I'm changing it to 5, that sell signal here is gone, that buy signal a little bit higher is also gone, right? So it sort of cleans up the chart a little bit more, because when I say it's a little bit stricter on the order flow, is it's conditions got to be met over a longer period. Okay, now another setting, again, I'm not gonna get into too many different settings, but a little bit stronger this time. So I'm gonna go 0 look back anytime the conditions are met and the trade entry signal is enabled. But the strength this time is going to be 2, right, for both positive and negative. Again, there's not really a point in setting it at 0 and or 1 and 2, but you want to keep it the same. Okay, so let's just adjust this to 0, 2, and 2. So I'll change the look back to 2, 0. But again, these are just guidelines. I don't like to tell people, oh, you got to use this setting or you got to use that setting, because everybody trades differently, right? They all have different outlooks of the market, time frames. So maybe you don't use a tick chart, maybe you use a minute-based chart, or maybe you use a volume-based chart, or range-based chart. So it really depends on sort of how you're trading. So here's a little bit stronger, but now you're missing certain signals, right? That you had before. Earlier you had a sell here when it's set to 1. You jack up the strength to 2, that's too strong. It just doesn't qualify, all right? But again, depending on the market that you're trading, you might want to use it, right? Or earlier in the day, there was some nice buys here on the way up, some small sells, um, you know, sell here, buy here, buy here. Again, so it really depends on how you want to use it, right? On the strength and your own personal trading that goes on, right? Because again, not everybody has the same risk tolerance levels, and not everybody trades the same chart type. But again, there's not many things you really got to change, right? It's basically you're dealing with the look back, if you want to use it or not. You're dealing with the delta strength, whether it's 1 and 1 or 2 and 2. For example, all these charts that I had open here, this is wheat. This is the same, 1, 1, and 1, right? Look back 1, strength -1, strength +1, 1, 1, and 1. Okay, this is mini Dow, 1, 1, and 1. 1, 1, and 1, 1, 1, 1. Again, trading with order flow, again, people have this misconception with order flows, it's got to give them every single turning point in the market. Order flow is not going to do that, right? But it's going to give you turning points in the market, and your job is a trader, right? You still got to manage the trade, once you're in it. Sometimes you're going to get small trades here, like this one and this one. Other times you're going to get big runners, like this one. It really depends on the market conditions. Right? Sometimes you're going to catch this big move here, right? You're going to catch a move here, right? Trailing your stop. I mean, this came, they just had that push after the cash open, which sucked, and then shot up. These are the worst ones where it just sort of comes in, pushes down, stops you out, then makes that move. But here's a nice move here. Okay, so there's a lot of different ways you can use it in the market, right? Here, same settings, exact same settings, 1, 1, and 1, right? That I showed you on the wheat chart, that I showed you on the mini Dow chart. I showed you on the crude chart. This is gold, right? 1, 1, and 1. Yeah, we all love these trades where the market just drops here, from 1794 all the way down to, 74 or something, or, this is what, 80. Sometimes, it takes the market a long way to get there. Okay. But really, as a trader, you're a grinder, right? You're trying to grind out the wins. The nice trades that happen here. This is the evening European session here, right? I sent out an email earlier this week about the Asian session, right? There's moves to be had here during Asia, right? This is 9 o'clock, from 97 up to 99, at 11 o'clock. Yeah, you get stopped out here. You can take a small loss, but then you get a nice trade coming on in here from 97, all the way down to 96. Sorry, 95 rather. Nice move from 97 to 96. It's not much of a move, but there's moves to be had in these sessions, right? And even if you get stopped out, it's not a big stop, right? It's manageable. All right, so we'll open it up to some questions and answering here. Okay, so I'm going to go through some of these setting questions here. Take off my glasses here. Okay, here. Yeah, maybe this, the market's closed. Thomas says, CMO Chandler Mohindra oscillator. Yeah, that's what the CMO indicator is. Maybe the zero, the market's closed. No, if delta is zero, well, if there's no trading, obviously delta is going to be zero. But when the market is open, sometimes you get bars. Let me get the footprint here. Sometimes you're gonna get bars where just it's zero. Let's see if I could find one here. If there was one in the crude this morning. This bar right here, right? See the delta. Traded 254 contracts. Delta was zero. Okay. Other times it's going to be small, like this 5 and 8. It's just coincidence more. Okay, Thomas. Yeah. Show E-minis as the market in the last hour of trading as the market was going up. Sure. Let me get E-minis here. Give it a second. Delta Scalper for Sierra charts. I don't have it. There's a version from Emoji Trading for Sierra charts. I used to have a working relationship with Lee from Emoji. We don't work together anymore. He still has my indicators up there. He's made some changes, I think, to it. I've made changes to mine since we've talked. So what you're seeing on this presentation is probably going to be slightly different, even though the general architecture is the same. Lee's made sort of his own changes to it from what was originally released years ago. Marco, yeah, if you have an earlier version, you can get an update to the new version. Okay, so this is E-minis. This is a 1-minute chart. Let me clean this up a little bit here. And so I'm going to take off this bid volume, the ask volume, just because it's a little. Actually, I could probably just, or I could just show you on a bar chart with the Delta Scalper. Probably easier. Let me close this down. Just give it a second here. So again, it's what time is it now? It's 4:10. Yeah, just give it a second here for this chart to come up. This is not my normal PC. I'm doing this presentation off of my laptop, so it's good. It's not as powerful, but I'm running the webinar software as well as NinjaTrader. But anyway, let me just go over to this. I can cover more ground on this chart here. So yeah, as you can see, the market in the E-minis, yeah, it shot up. We sort of had this little double bottom happen here around what is that, 220, 230. Now up here in the corner, you see it said upper left-hand corner, it says calculating. So it's going through the calculations. Now this setting is 1, 1, and 1. Okay, so it's got a look back of 1. It's got a positive and negative strength of 1. Now for, again, depending on type of chart that you're looking at, you might want to use 0, 2, and 2. Maybe you want to use 5, 1, and 1. Okay, so here, let's open it up. This was that move up, right? It gave you this buy signal in this bar. This was at 237. It shot up, basically from this area. What is that? 87 and a half, 88. Up to the 90s. You got a sell signal here. Now again, you're running into the cash close, 3 o'clock right here. Do you want to be holding it into the cash close is another story. There's a nice little move here to be had. And again, that's if you're using 1, 1, and 1. Again, if you have a different setting, say, you want to use 0, right? 0 look back. I don't need a look back. Just give me every trade that happens that starts to move in my direction. Just change it to 0, right? You could even change the price level in ticks from 2 to 1, or you could even disable the trade entry signal altogether if you want. All right, give it a second. You see up here, it says calculating. So it's going through sort of the historical data, but obviously in real time, it's just constantly updating. Once you open up your chart with the indicator on there, you just run it, and it's pretty simple to use. Yeah, there's going to be recording. Which markets are great for the Delta Scalper? Well, again, it depends on you. So here's this look back is set to 0. You still got those same buys, but now you got these couple of sells coming in as the market sort of falls down a little bit. It goes back up. Which market, the main markets are fine. Honestly, me personally, think of it this way, E-minis are the major market, right? That's what everybody loves to trade. That's where everyone is involved in the markets. But there's a lot of other markets out there, right? You don't need to stick to E-minis, right? Because there's a lot of, I don't like to use the term noise. There's a lot of volume in the market for a lot of other reasons. Oftentimes I find when, trading markets, like some of the commodity markets, wheat, crude oil, things that, people are buying because they have a need. A lot of people that trade S&Ps, they're just speculating, but other markets, wheat, for example, okay, this is wheat, soybeans. People, yeah, I don't want to trade wheat, it's not glamorous, what am I, a farmer or something? But, a move from here, wheat trades in quarters. So a tick is 12 and a half bucks, which is, what an E-mini is worth, right? So from 766 to 766 and a quarter, that's 12.50. Okay, 766 to 767, that's $50. That's 1 point in the S&Ps. But you get nice moves. 760 all the way up in here. Sorry, 766 up to 771. That's a 5-point move. It's $250. Right? And it follows the order flow nicely. This is it. 1 in the morning. Right? Minis, if you compare minis at 1 in the morning, oftentimes it looks like you get a lot of this, up, down, up, down, up, down, right? So again, it depends on the type of chart that you're trading as well, right? This is a 1-minute chart, right? Say you want to trade, I don't know, a tick chart, 50 tick chart, okay? You can do that, right? Look at this. This is a 50 tick chart. You get some small stop outs here and there, but you're catching, most of the move, right? This was today. That's overnight. This is yesterday, right? You're catching a nice little move up here. You get stopped out here, fine. You got a little move here, maybe you break even, you get long here. Oh, but then you got the short signal here, 771, all the way down to, what is that, 769. Okay, you get long, you get stopped out, get short again here, a nice little move down. Get a long signal here. It's just, it really depends. I just find, different markets, you're going to look at them differently. sort of find, how you're trading, what type of chart that you're trading, whether it's a 1 minute chart, whether it's a tick-based chart or a volume-based chart. You don't need to necessarily deviate much, in the settings. Again, this is a settings of one, one, and one, right? Okay, so that's, how about, I don't know, let's take a look at Euro currency with the same settings, one, one, and one. That's like your starting point, okay? You can go from there and sort of break it down because again, I'm showing you on a 1 minute chart, on a tick-based chart. Maybe you use a different type of chart. Maybe you use a 5 minute chart. Maybe you use a 2 minute chart. Look at this. This is Euro currency today, right? You had a buy signal up here on the left. Okay, that didn't work out, but it came in a nice sell signal here. Nice drop. Okay, you got buy, get long. Okay, get stopped out here. Get short again, right? Then down here, you get long again. So you can see it's giving you, sorry, I got a cough here. Excuse me. Depending on the type of chart that you're trading, start with one, one, and one and go from there. Excuse me. Will, I didn't see your email. I'll double check. Um, Hang on, I gotta drink something. Sorry, I'm just reading through some questions here. I'll pop a cough drop here. Jared asks about power bars. Yeah, I sent your email. I saw your email earlier. I'll respond to that one. I just won't get to it right now. I didn't reply because I was busy getting ready for this, but I want to get to it this evening. Um, and Will, I'm going to check for your email. Bob asks, yeah, Bob, I saw your email also. Um, you know, does the purchase come with instructions how to download into NinjaTrader 8? Yeah, if you're familiar with NinjaTrader, it's basically it's the same way, the way you install any indicator into NinjaTrader. So let me just pull up the thing here. Okay, so if you have NinjaTrader up, right? To install it, all you do is go to Tools, Import, NinjaScript add-on. Actually, I got a video on like after you purchase, there's like a video on how to do it. So you just click on it, right? And it's going to ask you, well, this one says already exists because I already have it on there. You just click yes, right? So because it will say, do you want to install Delta Scalper onto your PC? Replace the existing file. In this case, it says replace the existing file because it's already installed here. But if it wasn't, then you just go through the simple setup. It Yeah, I'm just there's a user guide here. Okay, I don't know if it has it in there on the actual importing it there because there's something you got to know about tick replay, right? You're going to need to use tick replay. Okay, that's important. It's in the user guide, but the importing there should be a video. Let me see if I have the video here for you. Uh, when you purchase the indicator, right? You're sent a welcome email. No, it's about entering your license token. Yeah, honestly, it's real simple to install. Is you just install it as you would any other indicator onto NinjaTrader. Now, tick replay. Let me talk about tick replay real quick here. when you have a chart, right, you open up a chart, you have this thing that says tick replay. Okay, you can see it's enabled. If you don't have that enabled, it won't show up, right? Because it's not reading the historical data. You're not using the historical data. Then that was the big difference between NinjaTrader 7 and NinjaTrader 8 was the ability to use the actual historical data when you install NinjaTrader. Now, if you don't have that button, you just go to options, and this is explained in the user guide. Under market data, see it says here, show tick replay. If that isn't disabled, right? See, I just disabled it. And you click on new, right? And you open up a new chart of whatever euro currency. It doesn't have that market replay here, okay? So if you don't have that set up, you just go into the tools, options, market data, show tick replay, click apply. Now you don't need to use level 2, it's just a simple level 1 data will suffice. Okay, so here, all right, well, whatever you open up, now it's there, tick replay. You just make sure it's enabled on the charts that you open. Fortunately, you got to do it for every chart that you open. But, once I do, what I do is once I have a chart that I like with the settings that I like, I just go down to the bottom, the tabs, duplicate in new tab, and it just copies over all the settings into the new chart. Then I could just go in and change, from whatever. Say, I don't know. I'll look at the E-minis. I want to open up a different chart. That's how I do it. Um, the it will run on the free version of NinjaTrader. Again, this is my laptop. This is not my normal PC for trading. This is the free version that I'm running it on. Okay, so it'll run on the free version. Honestly, if you want to trade through NinjaTrader, then yeah, spend the money to get the paid version of NinjaTrader. Otherwise, you could use the free version of NinjaTrader. You are going to need a data feed, though, of course, right? Live data for it to run. And say you're using whatever, Infinity or AMP or something, and you're using a different platform to enter your trades, you can do that. Again, I know people. I have customers that use these indicators. They trade overseas. They just get their data from the data provider. They pay for it. You have to pay for your data, but they're entering it on a different system. Okay, because their NinjaTrader doesn't connect to that exchange that they're trading on. Yeah, it's going to be recorded. It is being recorded. So, yeah, Brian, the deltas, it's interesting because, like I said, there's a lot of different order flow indicators out there. I've got a few, more than a few, and some are trend reversals, some are momentum indicators, and some are a combination. Okay, so for example, now there's times where that's sort of how we use the look back in a sense is case here. I have it turned off to 0, right? Now, if I really wanted to find sort of trend reversals, right, then I'll use a look back, okay? Because now I'm going back. If I have look back turned off, this is sort of a simple way of either looking for momentum or every signal, right? Is I turn the look back off. If I want to find turning points in the market, now again, it's not going to give me every turning point in the market, right? I'll use a look back of whatever 7 or say even 1, or I'll call it I don't know 2. Okay, we'll see. It's going to take off some of these other signals in here because now instead of just looking at the delta in one point, it's taking out, it's looking at more of the order flow. So you can see here, I have the look back set to 2, so now you're seeing less signals. If I set it to 7, we'll call it 9. I used to use 9 a lot. Again, you don't necessarily need to go over 10. Now, really what I'm looking for is, basically potential mm, turning points in the market, right? So set to 9. So, okay, yeah, I got a trade here, small stop out here, it stopped out a little bit here and here. I catch a nice move up here, right? I don't know how it looks on, this other stuff, right? So I'm catching this move here, right? Again, another signal here, some more sell signals here. Again, this is, 1 minute chart, excuse me, a 1 minute chart. Now, maybe I don't want to use a setting of 1 and 1, right? If I'm trying to be so strict and looking for potential turning points, I could change it to 2 and 2, which would be, um, even stronger. Okay. Now, would I use 2 and 2 in every market? No. Honestly, I'd probably use 2 and 2 on markets that are a bit more volatile. Here, you still get that nice sell signal here. You're getting some little buy here. This buy sort of sputters and goes nowhere. If I'm using 2 and 2, honestly, I would probably use it during the main session than the overnight session, because I'm really trying to be, a market like gold. Let's see, gold with 2 and 2. People will say, what about NASDAQ? All right, what about M&Q? Well, I think you need to refine it. I don't actively follow those markets much anymore. Um, so you got to sell off here, you got to sell off here, you got to rally here. Okay. So if I'm using 2 and 2, I'm really focusing on the main session. So here's 9-2. It found this turning point, right? Didn't find this one and this one because now it's a lot stricter, right? If I were to set it to 1, but by setting it to 0, then it's more, I don't want to say momentum. It's more, you're going to be more active in your trades, and it's going to find, obviously the momentum trades, right? Because it's not looking for necessarily for swing highs or swing lows, right? So now I could catch this trade here, I could catch this trade down, I could catch this trade up, catch, it stopped out here, catch this trade up, little back and forth here, this trade down, right? So it's, again, it depends on how you want to use it. Do you have any indicators for range bound charts? No, not well. I have turns. That's a different indicator. I don't know if I got it on this PC or, yeah, turns. It's a completely different indicator, runs on different settings. Um, but it's turns is something that's more, when you think of range bound, I think of more of support and resistance, right? A market trading around support and resistance, as opposed to, um, trying to find things in momentum. But anyway, I'm not going to cover it much here, but there is this indicator called, the uh, I got it on here, but I don't have my license. But anyway, so it's not going to show up, I don't think. Um, no, we don't do a trial anymore. We used to do trials, but it was just difficult to manage. People would try to work their way around it. So anyway, guys, I'm going to end it there for now. I don't want to keep you guys on all day, but again, if you're interested in this indicator, it's a neat little indicator. It's called, just go to Orderflows, sorry, not even Orderflows. It's go to www.deltascalper.com, and this is the page. Just type in deltascalper.com. This will come up. You can see it on the charts here. There's videos on here. This is an earlier presentation that I did a while back. It's an hour and a half. I mean, today we've gone about an hour and a half as well. And some more charts give you an idea. The settings. I explained the trade entry signal, DAX. This is wheat again. That's mini Dow, gold. So it's pretty simple to use. There's not a whole heck of a lot of different settings that you have to deal with, right? You don't got to worry about, oh, what's the slope of this average? What's this crossover? What am I going to do with this moving average? There's none of that stuff, right? You're basing your trading decisions off of what's happening right now in the market. So thanks for attending. I said, go to deltascalper.com. Um, I'm going to go, Will, I'm going to look for your email again. If I can't find it, I'll send you an email that you could reply. I'll send it from my personal email. Bob, I hope I answered your question. Jared, I'm going to take a look at your email about the power bars. Let me just make a note here. Jared, power bars, Will. And Bob, if I didn't answer your question, you just shoot me another email at my Yahoo email. Um, it's fine. Because I did see yours, and I figured I'd be covering it right in this presentation anyway. So have a great day, everybody. Thanks for taking the time out of your Friday, and enjoy Halloween. And I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks. Bye bye.